Hi-ho, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today, yes, look at my t-shirt. Be jealous. Today we have the Muppet movie. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time. I have been a lifelong fan of this. This is the original soundtrack from 1979. Yes, I listened to this. The record is inside here. This is the original record that I listened to growing up, and I know... I've watched the movie obviously tons of times, but I have listened to the soundtrack probably 100 times more. I think I might have caused a bit of concern to my mom, I think, by the amount of times I probably listened to this. I know, just watching this, I usually put this stuff on in the background while I'm doing other stuff, especially things that I've seen already and I know pretty well, and I just sort of will be reminded of certain things so I can talk about them afterwards. And yes, even though I've seen this a billion times, I still do watch it because, one, I love revisiting this after so long, but I've listened to this soundtrack so many freaking times. I barely got anything done because I was laser focused, smiling, grinning like an idiot. Hard to imagine. Grinning like an idiot through the entire thing because I'm just absolutely in love with these characters in this movie, and Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and the entire crew. So many of them are very much a part of my childhood, even before Star Wars, even before Marvel. I often say that the people that were most influential in creativity or just inspirational to me growing up as a kid, of course, Mr. Rogers, we're talking Jim Henson, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, just all the guys who are all about imagination. When you're a kid in the 70s and 80s growing up, it's a big deal. And Jim Henson, this movie, it was a culmination of so many things. For me, I grew up watching the Muppet movie, the Muppet show series on TV. Every week it would air, and this is an era in which there's no VCRs. There's barely repeats, like on weekends or things like that, and certainly not old enough to stay up late and watch them overnight if they actually aired this overnight. But I got the impression, even early on, that... Oh, no, I mean, I can't say I got the impression. I wasn't that wise as a kid. But the idea is that a lot of these characters, a lot of the actors, this movie is all about cameos. When you're going beyond just the main characters, it's all about the cameos. And just like on The Muppet Show, they would have special guests, usually with some modern pop stars. Of course, Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca and R2-D2 and C-3PO showed up one time, Mark Hamill, but as Luke, not as Mark Hamill. Well, he did show up as Mark Hamill and Luke at the same time. Yeah, because he switched out, yes. But in Elton John and other major stars of the time, but they never seemed to be... You'd assume that a show with puppets would be for children. No, that was Sesame Street. We had Sesame Street, that was for kids, and the Muppet Show is much more for adults because most of the guests are much older people. It feels like, yeah, they're from the Greatest Generation, but they're the people whose parents were probably in vaudeville, probably in silent film, things like that. And so all the guests always seem so much older, so much of a different generation, and that would probably attract the adults watching the Muppet Show, but the kids would come for the puppets, I guess. And in this, still, you get a lot of big names throughout this, but it's mainly big comedy names. You got Bob Hope, you got Mel Brooks, you got Steve Martin, who was just huge at the time. It'd be like, in a modern day sense, just, I don't know, getting Will Ferrell or Paul Rudd to show up, in your Muppet movie, like right now. So, but yeah, it's in this sense, there's no end to the amount of special appearances, and there's even people that I didn't even realize were famous at the time. Just even the secretary for the big Hollywood boss, who also is like one of the biggest cameos. The secretary is Cloris Leachman. Look at super leggy and blonde, and just like she played a grandma. She usually plays grandmas now, like little crotchety old grandmas, but here she's just. I realize this is 44 years ago, but still, still, I mean, she's an icon. Gosh, one of the people that I didn't understand why they included him necessarily when I was a kid, but I fully got it now on this watch is Edgar Bergen and he was a ventriloquist. Why can't I say the name of the puppet? Oh God, I'm gonna have to tap on his face. Edgar Bergen. He was a ventriloquist. He was born in 1903. Okay, he appeared as the judge for the beauty pageant, and he's done stuff in Vegas, and he was a comedian, but with a ventriloquist dummy. That was his shtick. And then why won't you give me the name of the puppet? Don't show me more pictures of Pedro Pascal. He has nothing to do with this. It's all Pedro Pascal. I mean, that's all IMDb is about these days. Yeah. But come on. I'm sorry about this. Edgar Bergen. He appeared on the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Edgar Bergen, is the guy who worked for the puppet. So, if you're going to get some classic actors, comedians, to play a part, why not get probably a man who inspired Jim Henson in the first place, Edgar Bergen? Again, this is the kind of thing if you never watched this movie for whatever reason, maybe you're not a Muppets fan. That's fine. I'm not going to convince you of it otherwise. If you've seen, there's enough Muppet stuff out there that makes you go, I don't care. But if you're like the type of person who likes inspirational stories and just good musicals, and God, I'm going back to this. Thank you, Paul Williams, who co-wrote much of the music on this, and he is he is part of the Muppets mythos. He has made cameos. He appears as the bar pianist in one of the early scenes. Paul Williams is as much a character in this film through his music than anything else. Any Muppet, puppet, frog, pig, bear, or whatever Gonzo is. The music is everything to me because, like I said, I can recite every single one of these songs by heart. This could be. I don't do karaoke, but this would probably be my karaoke. Any one of the songs on this thing. Even Never Before, Never Again by Miss Piggy, which is, a slower ballad, but it was not played completely straight because it's yes, it has all the hallmarks of a classic, just heart-wrenching power ballad kind of thing. Classic one, not rock power ballad, but at the same time, she goes full tilt. It's Frank Oz. It's Yoda. It's Fozzie Bear. It's Yoda technically going full tilt on the vocals as she just crashes through her range at the very end of the song. It's fantastic, and I know I had to probably upset my mom a lot, or my siblings a lot, by realizing that I'm locked away in the playroom, not locked, but away in the playroom, playing this on my record player, just belting it out, along with Miss Piggy. And I mean, of course, moving right along, and Can You Picture That, and of course, Rainbow Connection. I don't think I held back. I mean, that, and of course, this album right here, which is the first album I purchased with my own money, Flash Gordon, Queen. So these two right here, this is my DNA right here. And of course, Weird Al and video games and Star Wars and everything else. It's just, yeah. I'm going to I'm talking about myself more than the movie, but this is part of my DNA. If there's a movie that is part of my DNA growing up beyond Star Wars, it's this. It's fundamental, and I realized that there's a lot of stuff in this that worked its way into my life. I love puppetry. I taught my nieces how to make puppets of themselves many years ago when they were younger. I moved to Los Angeles. There's a couple other things that are just like, oh, I used to promote concerts, and of course the whole thing with the Electric Mayhem. Just that whole scene in the church pretty much is just fantastic. Oh, it felt very familiar to me. So, yeah. I realize I'm at 10 minutes into this already, and I could probably gush for the next 4 hours about this movie, longer than the movie itself. Just go over every single detail in this, and not out of any like, here's a technical thing to understand how they did the car, how they drove the car with the Muppets behind the wheel. Like, there's documentaries about that. It was just me just gushing for an hour and 35 minutes. This is from 1979, by the way, just 1979. It's an hour and 35 minutes. I think this is the long cut, because originally, when it eventually made it onto UK television, and also, I think a special on TV, they did cut out a lot of it, and it missed some pieces. But I believe this is the full version. It has everything I remember from it. I don't think this has been cut down in any way. If there is, it's just a small line here or there. I have to mention some of the other actors in this. Charles Durning is Doc Hopper, the villain of the film, who is just after Kermit. Kermit wants to go to Hollywood after meeting Dom DeLuise, playing an agent in the swamp by chance. And he decides not necessarily to go to Hollywood to become rich and famous, even though at the very end, when he's faced with the opportunity to audition, which he doesn't do, he just walks up to the studio chief, played by Orson Welles. This is just... Yeah, sure, Marlon Brando was in Superman. I get it. But still, Orson Welles in the Muppet movie? Come on. You're talking about iconic actors. It's just crazy. Austin Pendleton plays Max, and you've seen him in a ton of other stuff since. He has gray hair now, but he plays the kid sidekick, pretty much the young adult sidekick to Doc Hopper, who is conflicted. And what he wants to do, Doc Hopper wants to open up a chain of fried frog legs restaurants around the country. And yeah, Kermit wants nothing to do with that. Of course. It's detestable. And I realized just as an adult just how just horribly gruesome that it would be for, like, hey, do you want a job? We're selling fried human legs over here. And you're just like, sure, let me just sell out. Like, it's a story about the chance of going to Hollywood and somehow still having principles, unlike most people. And Kermit and the gang make their way across. It's a road trip movie. It's the gang making their way, meeting new friends, their origin story, which, as Kermit, when Robin, his nephew, asks if this is the real story of how they all came together, well, Kermit doesn't really give him a completely straight answer. He doesn't say yes. It's close enough. But it's Hollywood. So it's the magic of Hollywood that makes it happen. But so I've mentioned Mel Brooks, James Coburn, Dom DeLuise plays the agent, Elliot Gould, I said Bob Hope, Madeline Kahn early in the film, Cloris Leachman, Carol Kane shows up. Say Myth. Carol Kane will pop up wherever you say that. She's right over there. So, Richard Pryor shows up selling balloons. Telly Savalas shows up early on in the film. Yes, he is in that. Oh, is that him? Bruce Kirby is the gate guard. H.B. Haggerty plays a lumberjack. I don't know. There was a big guy who looked like the guy who fought Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The Nazi at the plane got chopped up. I thought he was in the sleazy bar scene where he throws Kermit and Fozzie around. Could have been him. I don't know really offhand, but yeah, there's a ton of just little things throughout this that are worth checking out and just watching it over and over again. This is the kind of thing you could probably share with your kids, even though this generation of children, I don't know if they necessarily have the focus beyond age 3 to appreciate the Muppets the way I do, on a deeper level, the way people my age often do. So I can't recommend this enough. If you've grown up with it, to revisit it and see that it's aged incredibly well. Yes, the jokes are corny. There's so many puns. The music is just fantastic, only because, again, it's part of my DNA now. It's literally, if you just drew the blood out of me, looked at it under a microscope, you would see the music and the lyrics to these songs in my blood. It's just that crazy. Yeah, I gotta stop because I'll go on forever. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
201.
201. I just need you to say it. Don't need it to pop it up. People think I'm doing CGI or something like that. 201. We've been doing, I don't know if, was it 2 days ago that we had another short? We've been doing shorts like every other episode, which is just crazy how this happens. And we have another short similar to one we had previous where Goofy teaches us something about sports. And this time he teaches us how to swim. So yeah, got one of those classic shorts from Goofy, how to swim, on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.